Hello and welcome back to Anywhere But Here, episode 277. My name is Tom.
And my name's Ant.
And you can find us at abhpod.com, where if you scroll down a few episodes, you'll find an Amazon banner. If you click through that Amazon banner and do your spending as you usually would, we get 5% of your total basket spent at the end. Doesn't cost you any more, doesn't change your customer experience, anything at all. It just means that we claw back a little bit of money from Jeff Bezos, and that goes towards funding our internet hosting for the rest of the year.
And also, by that Amazon banner, there is a Patreon banner. That is our preferred method of you supporting us if you are going to do it, because for $1 a month, that's all we ask. You get extra content, so it's like a give and take. You know, you give us $1 to pay for our hosting each month. And we give you a little bit extra. You can get After the Podcast, which are just exclusive to our patrons. You get spoiler casts when we've watched a new film and there's something to spoil. Cinemas are just coming back, so that might start happening again soon. And you get videos. So these episodes, at the moment, we are recording video over Zoom for it, so we'll post it up. So if there's anything to see, you can see that. All the audio content also gets delivered in a little special link for you that you just post into your podcasting app, and it'll get delivered to you automatically.
You can find us on social media at ABH Pod on Twitter. You can find us on facebook.com/ABH Pod and youtube.com/ABH Podcast.
Yeah, and you can also email us at abhpod@gmail.com if you want to sort of anonymously contact us. On
this episode, we've got a little bit of a technical glitch. You might have noticed that through this intro, perhaps. There's a little bit of lag on the line. We only find that out just after we start talking. And we're starting talking about the weird things that have gone on this year in 2020. The kind of dark and horrible shit that's happened this year. Just kind of going over it from the beginning of the year to now. And the year isn't even over yet.
Yeah, but not all is dark and depressing. We do try and find the positives. We talk about things we've been watching, and in order to sort of battle the blues, really.
But first, it's almost time to go back to school.
Enjoy. On the computer. And it is recording. Why have I got so many? Anyway. Oh, bloody hell. What's going on?
I don't know. What is going on?
Good start. I'm clicking all over the place.
Lots of things are going on.
Yeah. Strangely, yeah. During the 2020, I was going to say 2020 suck balls completely now. Like, as if it wasn't bad enough.
Yeah. The things that are going on in this house at the moment is like Joe preparing to return to work there is no clear plan.
Yeah, we're still not sure what's happening with schools or anything like that, but persevere, just power on ahead as we do. But that's it. So, it's the same with Chloe.
Well, this is it. Apparently there's we've got lag.
Oh,
we've got
God.
lag today.
Good stuff.
So you were saying about Chloe?
Yeah, so she's going back to school. The school have sent, like they've sent their plan through. This is what we're going to do. So, I mean, it seems as though it's just forging ahead. Like, she's going back to school on the 7th.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the tier system that they're talking about, like the 5-tier system?
In terms of what exactly?
Tiers 1 to 5. I think tier 1 is school as usual with the kind of staggered start times and break times. But if there is 1 or 2 reported occurrences of coronavirus within the school, then they move to 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off.
Oh, so half the school going for 2 weeks and then have 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Or the whole school has 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off.
I'm not 100%. It's either
I'd
one or
imagine
the other.
they alternate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I hadn't seen any of this.
Then tier 3 will be 2 weeks in school for it would be a mixture of in school and home learning.
Mm-hmm.
Tier 4 is majority home learning, and tier 5 is everyone home learning except for key worker kids, like we had at the beginning of last academic year. But that's all based on like whether there's more than one case of coronavirus in the school.
Okay.
I think if there's one case, it goes to tier 2, where it's staggered, half and half, in and half out. And then 2 or more is considered an outbreak. And that's where the home learning comes in. But I know for a fact that each school was doing something slightly different with home learning. Some were trying to do it with the timetable, so the kids would be logging into different Teams or Zoom meetings with their teachers at the time that they would be expected to be in that classroom. Others were doing it like Joe was doing it, setting work essentially at the beginning of the week and catching up at the end of the week to figure out if the kids had done it or not. So again, there's not an overarching kind of plan, and
there's no sort of consistency across the educational system. Like there's nothing set in stone how to do it. Chloe's school were doing it the same as I suppose Joe's school were then, whereas the teacher would put, this is your learning for the week, do as much of it as you can. Like you can't expect them to, it's like the difficulty of working from home, as you probably found at the start of the lockdown, is it's finding a space to do it, because if you're going to do it in a normal space, you're not going to do it. Essentially, you sort of need to be in a place where you can do it, if you know what I mean. What am I saying? Like, you need to have a set workspace, otherwise you're not going to do it.
Yeah, certainly, and some kids can do it, and I would say the majority can't.
Through no fault of their own at all. Like
no, and sometimes it's down to individual households having enough PCs or laptops or tablets or whatever the kids need to do the job, while the parents are also doing the job if they're working from home.
It is one of those things. It's like expecting all families to be able to do it. Like some people don't have the resources, some people don't have internet, some people don't have a PC where they could do it. It's
plus the fact that we know that or Joe knows especially that a bunch of her kids in her school have not been respecting or have not had the discipline from home to respect the social distancing thing over the summer. And who knows what they could be carrying, and then she's bringing that back here. And it's a tough one. And then you're putting all those kids together, and then that it's going to raise the, we all know what's going on out there.
I mean, I know with regards to teachers, and it's not always going to work. There's not a magical 2-meter barrier where the virus suddenly decides actually I can't cross there. But
of course,
in the class, so Chloe's school have got it where each year group is its own bubble, and within that bubble, the children don't have to social distance or wear masks. But if they venture out of that bubble, then they will have to wear a mask and social distance if they're mixing with other year groups. In the classroom, there is a teacher space where the teacher stays for that class. And it's marked out, this is the teacher space. Children cannot enter this space. And I think even around the desk, the teachers have a shield. So they do have stuff in place to protect the teacher, because obviously the teachers are going to be moving between year groups. But like you say, there is no magical barrier like the non-smoking and smoking sections in restaurants. There is no magic barrier. Some of that is going to move across, but
yeah, it's bizarre. So kind of heightening levels of anxiety again, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely will be. Yeah.
But again, it's it's this whole thing of like, I feel sorry for the kids because they are going to be massively affected by this.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I'm sure had this happened while we were at school, I'd have definitely seen it as a massive holiday and a chance to just take the piss and do what I wanted.
Oh, for sure. There's no facet. Like, we can't say, oh no, I would definitely go. No, I mean, when I was that age, I didn't go to school anyway. So,
had a bit of a freeze there.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I was that age, I didn't go to school anyway. So, this would have been a perfect excuse for me.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I was in school the whole time. Like when I was supposed to be there, I was cutting classes and taking the sneaky days off that I could if I absolutely could. And given the fact that we weren't, we wouldn't have been allowed into school in the first place, there's very little chance that I'd have done anywhere near as much work as I should have done.
No, not at all. No way, mate. No way.
But again, that would have massively affected my future. Not that it probably would have done. I don't really know. It's hard to say. The other ones that I feel sorry for are the university kids.
Yeah.
Like starting university this year, that's going to be an absolute bummer because the whole point of university is to go and have fun and learn about living independently.
And this isn't funded by the government. They are going to have to pay for that privilege of possibly not learning.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how that's going to work.
No, I assume you'd kind of want to negotiate a reduced fee for the terms that you weren't there the whole time. Surely, but again, I don't know what's happening. I know that obviously there are loads of university placements this year because there aren't very many foreign students, if any, foreign students coming in.
Brits, because they're not sure. But to be fair, I'm a uni student and I don't go to campus or classrooms or anything. I do all my studying at home. So
true,
it's
true.
Yeah, it's definitely possible to do it. But at least the university students, I was going to say they had the drive to actually study, but some people don't, especially in the first year.
Some do, some don't.
Especially in the first year.
Yeah.
The freshers, it's all. Yeah.
Well, the first year doesn't count towards anything, like.
No, but if you don't do it, you fail.
I screwed my life. Yeah. No, I screwed my life for the first set of exams because I'd spent like 2 or 3 years out of school before I went, and so I was like, right, I've really got to figure this out because I haven't done homework in years. So I'll take this seriously and see where I get. And I was getting like 80 to 90% in the test that they were setting. And then I was like, right, so the marks from this year only really count towards something silly like 5% of the total overall thing. So I was like, right, I'm taking my foot off the gas. I can do what is required.
Do the bare minimum.
Had I not done that, had I got decent grades in my first year, it might have actually pushed me over into a first. But
well,
such is life. I had a good time.
I mean, this is the, I think, like, I spent a significantly longer amount of time out of education before embarking on this, but luckily, like, I think you're supposed to, is it 120 credits for 1 year, one full-time year?
I think it is. So, yeah.
So I'm doing 60 credits a year, so like half that workload. So it gives me more time. Like if I was trying to do 120 credits, I'd be sucking really hard at it. But because I'm only doing 60 credits, it's spread out. So it gives me that chance to sort of slowly get back into learning. I think my first 2 assignments, I think I've done, there's 5. So my first 3 assignments were sort of in the 80 to 90% mark. My fourth one was a lot lower. I think it was in the 60s. But my final assignment, you only have to make 30% to pass it, which is like to pass the term. So it's like, oh well, like that's going to be fairly easy. It's a little bit of work, but this is the one that you have to do. You can't fail. The other ones you could have failed and been okay as long as you do this last one. But it's just the final assignment for the module. So, but again, like you say, it doesn't really count for much. It doesn't really count towards your final grade so much. But
and then you get that mindset of like, well, I don't have to try quite as hard at this one.
But also, you get your assignment workbook that tells you what to do, and you get advice, and it says, oh, to answer this question, basically lay it out like this, using the concepts from this chapter or this specific reading in this chapter of this book. And you're reading that and you're like, shall I just read those chapters and not the whole book? Just so I can answer the question?
Yeah, I know. Because the adult in you thinks, well, if I have more wider reading, then I'll be able to show greater working out and all that kind of stuff. Which is what
it, yeah. So it's like, if you want to get a pass, then you only have to read these parts. But if you want to, and when you're looking at it, it's like, well, I could answer the question with just that, but then this bit from this reading that it doesn't tell you about, you could actually use that, and it helps structure your argument a bit better. And yeah, it's quite interesting. It's fun. It's like a puzzle for me, trying to figure out what's significant and what's not. And that's how I'm treating it.
Like, this is where, like, sorry, mate. That's the lag again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I think this is where education is wasted on the youth anyway. It's like by the time you get to actually wanting to better yourself, you're more better equipped to be like, no, I really do need to knuckle down and do more than is required. Whereas I was always described in school reports and stuff as an economical student.
I love that. I love
someone
that
who
phrasing.
only did just enough.
Yeah.
Thomas is an economical student.
I've never heard that one. I like that.
He does. Most quoted description in any of my classes throughout the whole of secondary school.
That's great.
Does just enough to get to the pass. And maybe slightly more, but never exceeds, despite the fact that clearly he's got,
Yeah, they may have just written, he's perfectly average. Like, great.
They could well have done.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always had that. Could apply himself more. Like that. That's all I had. That's what I had. Yeah. Could apply himself more.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah, but for me, it just meant like turn up to school. Yeah.
Never mind. I mean, I was there most of the time.
I was home most of the time. I was the exact opposite.
But so that's the kind of most immediate thing going on here. But then, of course, we woke up to the news on Friday morning as well of Chadwick Boseman dying.
Well, I was leaving work, but yeah, because I'm on nights. I was going to sleep on that news. You were waking up on that news.
Good point.
Yeah, that was that came out of nowhere.
He didn't kind of publicise the fact that he was having this battle with colon cancer.
No. 4 years it was. So I saw a post saying that he, like with that diagnosis, that knowledge, he did like Civil War, Endgame, Infinity War, the Netflix film as well. I can't remember what it was called now. I saw it this morning, but like he made
21 Bridges.
Yeah, he did 21 Bridges, but there was another one as well. I can't remember what it was now. But
what's it called? Marshall, I think it's called, isn't it?
I
don't know.
But yeah, he made either way. He made like 4 or 5 films whilst like with this this knowledge.
Mm.
Yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. But then he was also sort of going around to children's wards and like talking to children with cancer and leukemia. Like it's, yeah, the guy,
Mm.
and I think he won an award he got an honorary doctorate from his university and went into the commencement speech, and it's crazy. Yeah, quite incredible what he managed to do in that time.
Mm. Yeah, certainly. I mean, you know, and most people start looking ill, like there's a change in their appearance. And there wasn't, as far as I could tell. You know, every time I saw him on talk shows or whatever as well, he always seemed really, you know, like he wasn't suffering. Bizarre, utterly bizarre.
But yeah, it's awful. I saw loads of stuff all over Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and you know, on the whole, people were being really quite respectful. Like, there's nothing you can say about the guy that, you know, and people were even saying that don't even ask about Black Panther 2. It's not the time. Like, no. And I don't think anyone was really.
I didn't see much. I mean, I didn't go trawling through Twitter or whatever about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a question that I thought of, but it's not appropriate, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, no. But what are you going to do? Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just really sad.
Yeah. You did. The only tweet I really saw was someone saying, somebody said, "Oh, please don't recast Black Panther. Like, nobody else can do it." And someone did respond to that though and say, like, well, if Chadwick wanted Black Panther to go ahead, I'm sure he'd be more than happy. You know, I'm sure it's a discussion that they probably did have.
Yeah.
Because it was like right there. It was like, if anything were to happen, then yeah, I mean, you could replace, you could recast.
You just put Shuri in
the suit. Yeah.
In the suit.
That's it. It doesn't even have to be T'Challa.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be T'Challa at all because yeah, it is. It's whoever's in charge, whoever's head of Wakanda. So, but yeah, it's like we say, it's. But
yeah, like I say, totally inappropriate to think about, right?
Yeah. No, we're speculating. Yeah, but it's just complete shock. I got into the car and just opened up Twitter and was like, "What the fuck?" Like. Where the fuck did that come from? Yeah,
because like you say, when people don't publicize the fact that they're ill or suffering or whatever, then it's a massive shock, isn't it?
Yeah,
a little bit like Bowie, really, because he didn't let on, even though he was starting to look quite gaunt in those last couple of videos.
Yeah, definitely. In the last few videos, he sort of did lose a huge amount of weight, but then some of that you could put down to age, you know, as he was getting older. But obviously with Chadwick Boseman, obviously he was, what was he, 43? 40, yeah,
43.
Yeah, so it's,
which is no age at all. I mean, you know, it's not like we're massively far away from that either, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's when people only slightly older than you are starting to, you know, it starts to bring things into sharper focus a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It sort of makes you go, maybe you should do something.
Yeah. But I tell you what, it's one of the things as well that I'm like, you know, I'm glad that I've used this time in a positive manner, and you know, getting myself more fit and in shape, and sorting out my diet a little bit more and stuff like that. Because again, you know, obesity is this thing that, you know, is big on the government's hit list right now as well, isn't it? You know, they're saying that, I mean, everyone knows that obesity is bad. Being fat is bad for you.
Yeah.
In a number of ways. It can exacerbate all sorts of diseases and underlying health problems.
Yeah, your body won't,
So
if you do get any illness, your body is not in a state to fight it.
yeah,
So yeah,
and I don't know. Like I see these people saying that they've put on like loads of weight, and I kind of get it through furlough or whatever. But at the same time, I'm like, you've got all that time. Why aren't you putting some effort in? Maybe people don't. I don't know. It all comes down to your own mindset at the end of the day. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but it's something that I know we've had discussions before. How we've always had the mindset that we would like to be healthier, we would like to be fitter. So when that opportunity presented itself to us, we were like, "Oh, cool, I can do it." You know, I've got the time because yes, being fit you don't need a huge amount of time. But when you're working your ass off all the time, it's not something. When you do get that free time, you don't want to be working more. But, you know, I'm not hitting it as hard as I was at the beginning when I was in isolation for 2 weeks. So, because I've gone back to work, it kind of slacked a bit. But
that's because you're back, yeah.
But I am being a bit more mindful about what I'm eating and stuff like that. I'm still doing my portion control. I'm not counting the calories like I was. I'm not weighing everything but I'm still making sure I include fruit and vegetables. I'm not, you know, I'll get the microwave rice and I'm not dishing up myself a whole packet. You know, it's 2 portions. So I am separating it and things like that. So I'm still being a bit more mindful of my eating. I'm still trying not to be as sedentary, but like with this final assignment due, I am spending a bit more time sitting and reading, a bit more time than I should be.
And that's the thing, you've got to prioritize things. You know, like the course is quite important, and if you can take a couple of weeks of less exercise, then why not?
Definitely.
But yeah, it's one of those things. But equally, like, it's not just this, is it? There's been more shootings in America. There was that kid who went to the protest and shot a load of people. There was also that gunman in New Zealand as well who shot up 2 mosques and killed like 50 odd people. Got life without parole the other day.
Good.
And then, of course, there was another shooting of a black person who was apparently resisting arrest, but that doesn't warrant being shot 7 times in the back.
Yeah, who's reaching into his car and he had a knife in the car and it's like...
Did he?
There was a knife in the car. The police found a knife in his glove box. Maybe he was reaching for it.
It's stupid. And then since... It's not... regardless, like, if he pulls a knife, he's got to get at you then. And you've got a gun pointed at him, so you are still in control in that situation.
And the thing is, if the guy does come at you with a knife, is shoot to kill justified? Or could you not shoot Absolutely to incapacitate? Like shoot him in the leg. You don't have to kill the guy, and you certainly don't have to shoot him 7 times. Like. No. In the back, he's not coming for you.
No.
I saw a video because people are like, oh, but he was a criminal. Oh, but he was resisting arrest. Oh, but he reached into his car, so the police need to protect themselves. And it's like, and I saw this reply to that tweet where it put a side by side of that situation where the guy got shot in the back 7 times for trying to reach into his car, next to a video of a white guy resisting arrest, punching the police, pushing them over, getting into his car, driving his car around, smashing into their police car, and then driving at the police. And they let him go.
And not a single shot was fired.
Not a single shot was fired. They let him drive off.
Yeah.
This white guy. But the black guy reached into his car, so had to die.
It's like you see this stuff and you think, like, what? Why can't they just figure out, like, there's massive tension at the moment, and loads of incidents have happened and are continuing to happen. Why isn't it on their mind that they should, like, be less trigger happy?
Yeah, because I had this discussion almost the same with a nurse at work the other night. And this was a African nurse, like a black guy. And he was sort of like, oh, and he was sort of against it, saying like, we don't need to protest and we don't need to do this. We're just proving them right, blah blah. And it's like, yeah, I get that, but, and I explained what I saw to you, the side by side videos. And I was like, the thing is, I think it's that mentality, that inbuilt prejudice that we have from being brought up, where we have this discussion about, I always used to view Brixton as a dangerous place. But I've got no reason to, because I've never had an issue when I've been there. And I'm saying, like, maybe it's with these police, it's not a conscious decision that they're making in terms of, he's black, I must shoot him. Like, I think it's just this inbuilt thing that they taught, that black people are more dangerous. So, and they're not, and that's their mentality, and it's a prejudice that they have, but it's been sort of built into them through growing up and being told that they're more dangerous, they're criminals, they will kill you. So they make that unconscious decision, like snap decision. I need to do something, and it doesn't register. He's black, he must be dangerous. It's just there. It's in their mind, and it's the thing we need to get out of people, I think.
Yeah, but you think that superiors or whatever, or even just them themselves, would be like, right, I'm in this situation, I know what happens here if I do this. But I suppose the flip side of that as well is that they're seeing their colleagues or whatever being, had up on charges of, of whatever it is they're being charged of, whether it's killing, that they're being victimized, or I don't know, like, you just don't know what goes through people's minds.
Yeah. It is, and I think that. I think the shoot to kill thing is, I don't get that. I don't get why when you shoot them, why do you have to kill them straight away? I don't get that. Incapacitate, to get your taser, right? Reach for your taser rather than your gun.
Yeah, and I just think it's this American mentality, not all Americans, but this American mentality of like, I've got a gun, I am powerful, and I have it's my right to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. It's that whole thing that we've been talking about for years, ever since we started talking to Americans over the internet. We don't understand it. No. Although it's not, it happens over here too, with the police here too. But mainly with tasers rather than guns, admittedly. But,
yeah. So it's not killings, but it's it's the use of excessive force over here more than the use of firearms. Like,
yeah, I suppose the closest, most high profile comparison here to what happened out there this last couple of weeks was the John Charles Menezes shooting on the Underground.
Yes, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Around about the time of the 7/7 bombings. Yeah, they shot this. He was a Brazilian, wasn't he? He was a Brazilian national.
Yeah, I was thinking Portuguese, but yeah, Brazilian.
He vaulted over. He'd vaulted over the barriers in the Underground. Had a backpack on, was brown. Around about the same time as Taliban bombings had been going on, and they shot him without trying to stop him first. It was shoot first, ask questions later kind of thing.
Yeah.
Still don't really know why he vaulted the barrier.
No.
But the fact is, we'll never know now because he was shot dead when he should have been apprehended. And of course, at the time, it was like he could have a suicide vest on. If we apprehend him, there could be a dead man's trigger. There could be anything.
Yeah.
It's not. It's still not right.
But since then, it hasn't happened again, as far as I can remember. So
not in a kind of busy public space.
Yeah.
So excessively as well, because I think he was shot 5 or 6 times in the back, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, as he was running away. Like
yeah.
Shooting someone as they're running away. Oh.
Yeah.
But
not self-defense.
No.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. But yeah, I mean, I was going over the other day when I was thinking of like what to talk about on this episode before I found out Chadwick Boseman had died.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking like, what has happened? I was trying to think of the chronology of weird shit that's gone on this year.
Yeah.
And whether I could remember all of it. I mean, it started off, obviously, the rumblings of coronavirus started back in December, January in China. And it was you could sense that something was not right, but we didn't know the scale of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had Australia bushfires destroying like a fifth of the country's.
Yeah, that was the shit,
spaces.
Wasn't it? Fucking hell.
There were murder hornets. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Murder hornets.
Yeah, I've got to apologise to the people if this comes out and they're recording this lag. Like Tom's frozen for me now. Oh no, he's back.
No, I don't know what's froze for a very long time there, so I just shut up for a little while and hoped that it would catch up.
But I don't. Hopefully, it hasn't come out in the recording. If it has, we apologise. I don't know what's going on with it today.
No, it's weird. This is the first time we've had proper technical issues, really, isn't it?
With Zoom, yeah, Zoom's been pretty stable, and I don't know. I've got Sky coming out again this week, so hopefully they can sort something out.
They can sort it.
If it's something on my end. I mean, yeah.
Who knows? I mean, Joe only just came back, and what you might have seen me be a little bit distracted while we were talking about some stuff. Then it's because she was kind of crawling all over the floor trying to get things underneath the wires. And
okay. I did see you laughing. Yeah.
Just to put some context into the bit where I laughed during quite a serious conversation we were having.
And that's just us. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So you saw the Australian bushfires, the murder hornets.
Yeah, which never really came to anything. I think that was kind of made up.
We get that every year.
Yeah. Some it's like African killer bees. It's, yeah.
Deadly insects.
Yeah. Then obviously coronavirus hit. Unless I'm missing something, and lockdown happened, and then it was the 5G conspiracy theorists.
God. Hey, look, I'm okay. I've got a 5G phone. I'm okay.
Get you, humble brag.
I haven't enabled it because there's no point because we don't have 5G in Kent.
Fry your brain and make you into a zombie.
Give me coronavirus or something.
Yeah. Then it was George Floyd, I think.
I mean, these are the most significant things that stand out, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was trying to think of other
George
things.
Floyd, the Black Lives Matter, I think that and coronavirus, I think, have dominated. Breonna Taylor, obviously, among that.
Yeah.
Who was shot in her bed.
Yeah, absolutely no threat there.
No. I know there was the explosion in.
Oh fuck yeah! We never even spoke about that, did we?
Where was? Why did my brain wants me to say Libya, but it's not.
No, it was. Oh fuck's sake! Come on.
There was another fireworks factory, wasn't it?
No.
Beirut. Oh no, it wasn't fireworks. It was a.
It was like a fertilizer. It was like an industrial fertilizer or something. It was a chemical that is commonly used in fertilization of crops. Yeah. But if left on its own, and improperly stored, then it can explode.
Yes.
And there were I don't know how many tons.
Especially if it gets wet, which is why it should be shipped high in transit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, there were like hundreds and hundreds of tons of this stuff, like improperly kept in a warehouse down at the docks, because a shipment of it had come in, and then there was something wrong with the papers, and so the captain of the ship, the captain of the ship just bailed because he didn't have the proper papers and didn't want to get prosecuted for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it couldn't go to its intended recipients because it was technically contraband.
Yeah.
So they were just like, right, we've got to store it somewhere. So they put it in this massive warehouse. And but bloody, it looked like a nuclear explosion.
It was
ridiculous. Like the mushroom cloud.
It just completely leveled the docks. Like,
yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
It's strange. Only 113 people died. Like, 113 people is a significant amount, but that explosion only killed 113, and 4,000 others were injured.
Yeah. Bearing in mind it happened in the middle of the day in a busy working environment. Like loads of people work in docks and ports and stuff, and it's quite a built-up area as well. Like you could see, like the footage from people's home recordings and stuff where they were being thrown across the room, and like all the glass was being pushed in, and it was nightmarish.
The explosion, it says here, the explosion occurred just after 6 o'clock after a fire at the port, and it was felt 150 miles away on the island of Cyprus, 240 kilometres. Yeah.
So, like you say, only 160 odd deaths is amazing, really. Yeah. But
it's
I couldn't get over it. They reckon it's caused $10 to $15 billion in damage.
It's crazy. Like the videos of it were just absolutely insane. Like you could see the shockwave as the explosion. You could see it just leveling buildings before the dust kicked up, and like it must have been terrifying. Like to say the least. But yeah.
Well, I think originally people in the first instance thought it was some sort of attack, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you got the conspiracy people out there saying, "Oh, was it fertilizer really?" And you're like, "Yes."
Yeah,
there was a whole lead up to
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason they found out it is because of the color of the smoke.
Oh wow!
It was a kind of acrid, dark red color, and so scientists, chemists, were like, right, well, what produces that kind of smoke? And it's this kind of chemical which was on the books for being stored at this facility, so it was that chemical exploding.
Well, but Tom, I know scientists said that, but can we really trust them?
It's a good point. Sorry, I forgot about that one point.
The point that
overrides all other points.
But is it that really convincing argument of but was it really?
I think it might be something else.
Oh, well, in that case,
you're an expert, are you?
Yeah. Well, in that case, then, if you think it might be something else, then we'd better look into that. Can we trust scientists and doctors?
No. I mean, the government aren't trusting the science anymore. It's quite clear.
Well, yes,
and haven't been for some time.
Yeah.
Then there's rumours of Boris going to step down in 6 months in January after
he got Brexit done.
And this comes from his exactly. Yeah. As soon as Brexit's done, he will step down and let the next idiot take over and try and clear up some of his mess. Downing Street has said that is nonsense. The source of this is Boris Johnson's father-in-law, who said it to someone else.
Right.
That apparently, because when he contracted coronavirus, he went back to work too early and is still suffering from some of the what do you call it?
It was the after effects of it. Yeah. Long-term effects.
And that, it's had a much harder impact on his health than anyone has let on so far, and that's why he's going to step down.
I don't know if you remember me saying that one of my colleagues contracted coronavirus and she sort of lost her sense of smell and sense of taste. And she still hasn't got it back, as far as I know. Like, I think it's gone. Just that's it forever.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it's not a physical thing. Like, it's not one of those physical things that struggles with, but it is a long-term effect of it.
Yeah.
It's mad. Absolutely mad.
Yeah. And who's to say that he hasn't got long-term health effects? It's quite possible. But I still don't think that he had it as significantly as that. If he was back to work within, 4 or 5 days, 3 days, something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, he was in hospital for like a week at most.
Yeah.
Where one of my mum's colleagues, her husband caught it back in March and has been on a ventilator in a coma ever since.
Bloody hell. I was talking... I was talking to a guy at work. He's an African guy, so obviously he's part of the BAME. I don't want to say group because it's not a group, but you know what I mean. Demographic. Thank you. He got it really early on. Before it became a pandemic. So there was a guy, one of the patients had it, and he was his only sort of support worker that was allowed in the room with him.
Right.
And I think as soon as it was announced as an epidemic or pandemic, whichever one it was, that day he'd actually come down with it pretty seriously. And I think he said he didn't leave his bed, and his girlfriend contracted it as well. But he didn't leave his bed for like 2 or 3 weeks. He didn't even get admitted to hospital, but he didn't leave his bed for 2 or 3 weeks. Like, he was just completely knocked out by it. He said it's the worst thing he's ever felt. It's the first time, I think he said he's been in the UK 23 years, and it was the first time he'd got ill, and he was just bedridden for 2 or 3 weeks. Just couldn't move. And this is a really fit guy. So, yeah.
Yeah, which Boris isn't.
But he still went to hospital.
He did, yes.
Whereas this guy who had it really badly, not even seen. Like,
yeah, it's been an absolute clusterfuck, hasn't it? What else? There was something, and obviously the Californian bushfires are happening right now as well.
Yeah,
again, this is, and also tornado.
Two hurricanes smashed like the was it the east coast of America?
Yeah,
like two hurricanes like at the same time just came in.
Yeah.
So that happened. You also had Kanye West announcing his presidency campaign.
Of course, forgot about that.
But then also coming and people sort of noticing his rants, going like, that man, there's something wrong with him. And then I think Kim tweeted out or put on Instagram that he like confirmed, yes, he has bipolar. Like,
oh really? I missed that.
No, she came out and said, yes, he does have bipolar disorder. And it's really hard.
That's not a big surprise.
No, I think it's something that people had like said for years they thought he did. And they said it is something they deal with, and you kind of go, okay, we sort of won't hit him so hard then, which I think was probably one of the reasons we didn't. Yeah,
I mean, I just over the last few years, I've kind of had to white noise him a little bit, just because like he does this stuff, and you're like, it's a bit like all the stuff about Trump, isn't it? Like, clearly that guy is mentally ill in some way.
Yes.
Because it's just all this kind of incoherent ranting and stuff that looks like attention-seeking behaviour, but maybe isn't. There are these kind of. There has always been this slight kind of red flags.
Yeah,
in the things that he talks about.
Yeah, you do recognise it for that, and I think that's probably why we don't, like you say, we don't go so hard on them with their rants as well. I mean, especially Kanye West, like with this, them saying yes, he has bipolar disorder. It makes sense, all these grandiose beliefs that he has. When he's sort of calling himself God, and it's sort of, the bipolar. If he's having a manic episode, that makes sense. These grandiose thoughts, and it makes sense that he says them, which is, I suppose, why we don't go so hard on him. Whereas like people like Katie Hopkins, they're just
evil people. It's calculated,
nice. Yeah,
and
Nigel Farage, and those people, you're just like, you're just arseholes, man.
Yeah, there's a difference between comparing yourself to Jesus in a kind of on a hip hop album, compared to saying that you wish that there were holes in boats of migrants, and years and years of your life dedicated to spouting bile against other people. Like, there is a difference.
Yes, massive. But yeah, so, and she got banned from Twitter, didn't she? Which was great.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah.
That happened this year. It wasn't a weird thing. It was something that should have happened, but it's pretty big for us.
It's a win. It's a win. And talking of migrants, there's been even more of that kind of thing happening just down the road. Boats, inflatable dinghies crossing 20 miles of very choppy water.
Well, they're
not
just
a lot of them.
They're coming over it just for the free ride, for the easy life. That's why they're crossing the channel in a dinghy, because they just want a bit of money. So it seems like it's justified journey just to get that free ride.
Yeah, and of course, there was that horrific photo of the child, the father, bringing his child out of the water who had drowned.
And if it was only that it was the first one that we'd seen like that,
Yeah, but then I don't know whether you saw some of the really horrific things that people were posting about that image, but they just turned.
Some people were saying it was
stomach.
Staged and things like that, weren't they? Like,
yeah, but also there were people putting laughing emojis and and all that kind of like really hateful stuff, and it just makes you think, like, where the fuck do I live?
I just hate that. Like, and people post that map where they come over.
Oh, that bollocks!
They have to pass through all of these countries with no war just to get to one with no war, and it's like, that's not why they're coming.
Not the point.
It's not why they're coming here. Again, that same nurse that I was talking to about the Black Lives Matter thing was saying, like, the reason that people come here, and after this conversation we've had, it doesn't sound like his point is true, but it's just because so many other countries, like, he's lived in quite a few, he said, but this is the one with the least amount of racism, like the most amount of acceptance.
It's unbelievable, though, isn't it?
He's saying, like, people, you go to France, like him as an African going to France, like, they wouldn't accept him. It'd be really hard to live there. And I think Holland is quite bad as well, and Germany, like, they're quite racist places. Like,
and also, I mean, you remember years ago that girl who I struck up a conversation with, her and her friend had come over from Italy.
Yes, the one where you had to take her suitcase
accidentally
back.
Kept her bag.
Yeah. That's a great story, though. Anyway,
but she's got a black boyfriend back in Italy.
Yeah.
And she was saying to me that, like, her family weren't happy with it. Like, that particular part of Italy in Milan was like super right wing. But what she was saying is, like, generally the whole of Italy quite racist. It's one of the reasons that she was coming over here, was to escape that whole thing.
Yeah.
As it turns out, she's gone back and she's now got a kid with this guy.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Are you still talking to her? Or
so that's cool. Now and then, yeah, like little bits here and there. It's like you say, it seems to be that there must be some truth in what your colleague says.
Yeah.
But I just think it's weird, isn't it, that like racism exists everywhere.
Yeah.
But like the other point of these migrants coming over here is like most of them are actually quite well educated. They're all a lot of them are university graduates. Some of them have been doctors or university lecturers and things like that. They're the people escaping because they're the ones being oppressed and targeted.
Yes.
By whatever regime is
too well educated. They need to get rid of them.
Yeah, and they're coming over here and becoming cleaners and shit, or going on absolutely lowest of the low state funding. It's.
I mean, if you want to,
like you say, they're not coming over here to leech off benefits. They're coming over here to escape
and to work. To earn a living. As an example of, I can't remember if it was Holland or Belgium, but this guy was saying that he knew someone who went to one of these countries from Africa to study, to do his doctorate. So he went to this country to do his doctorate, and then he went back to, I can't remember which country he's from in Africa, but he went back to his country. And when the war started up, there was a war started up. So he came, I'm going to go back to this country where I got my doctorate. And he went there, and when he was applying for like jobs and stuff like that, they were like, well, no, because when you came over here to study, you did your doctorate in order to return to your country. If you want to work as a doctor here, you need to do your doctorate again. Like, that's fucked up.
Yeah,
they gave him his doctorate
surely.
So he could do it and then fuck off back home. So if he wants to do it here, he needs to study again, like do his 5 years again.
That makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, it was just. I think it was a case of like, you're not going to put in that work and you're not taking that job. So I think he ended up going back home again because.
Wow.
But yeah, there's some messed up shit goes on in this world.
Yeah. And there seems to be more of it going on this year. Or maybe it's just the fact that, people are opening their eyes for the first time. There's been, like we said before, with certain things, the Black Lives Matter movement has been around for quite a number of years now.
Yeah.
But it's really taken hold this year because people have had the time on their hands to really sit and reflect.
And educate themselves.
And yeah.
Actually read about it.
I'm still working through a load of documentaries and films from, the BBC did a Black Lives Matter, not season, but they did like a whole week or two of like really hard-hitting BLM adjacent programming.
Yeah, and I know
there's some really interesting stuff on there. Like,
sorry, I was going to say, and I know Sky and Netflix have collections as well of like Black Lives Matter films to watch.
They do, and it's well worth watching. Just because, like you say, I mean, I know you did a lot of research into it. When it all bubbled up, and it's I think it's just beneficial to kind of have a look at the way society is structured and just and see it through someone else's eyes. Yeah,
and one of the books that I was listening to, that How to Be an Anti-Racist, is interesting as well, because people are like, I keep seeing these posts. It's like, why is it only white people that can be racist? Why? And that's a load of bullshit. And that How to Be an Anti-Racist, the book in there, like the author actually gives an account. He lectures in sort of that area, and he gives an example of how, like, for example, like one of his Ghanaian students was complaining about this racism, blah blah blah, but then I think the professor witnessed him and his other Ghanaian friends being racist about, I don't know, like somebody from Zimbabwe. like, and pointing out that hypocrisy, and like just giving examples of racism just within a demographic, like, you know, and it's the same how you look at, you don't hear it so much about English people stereotyping Irish people as being stupid. You know, you've got the Irishman jokes and things like that. It's, which, you know, those in themselves, I suppose they're racist jokes. Because you're stereotyping someone, and, you know, and people don't realize that racism isn't just about white and non-white. It's within white, and it's within black, and it's within Latino communities.
It's like largely kind of jingoistic. It's largely country versus country.
I mean, the term, like, Mexicans have the term gringo, which is a racist term for a white man. You know, it's anyone can be racist. Anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just so happens that especially the West is specifically kind of set up to promote white people than it is people from other cultures, you know. But yeah, you know, the whole Englishman, Irishman, Scotsman thing, the Irishman is usually the butt of the joke.
Sure.
And back in the even in the 70s, you know, the classic thing for rented housing over here was no blacks, no dogs, no Irish. Like, Irish were below dogs. In that kind of, do you know what I mean? Like, it was,
put it in that order.
That was what it was. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it wasn't in a. Sorry, mate.
No, carry on. Carry on. I'll carry on. Right. Okay. So, like, we've got the factory I used to work in. One of he was the operations manager. Was an Irish guy. Funnily enough, called Paddy. He used to tell a story because he was friends with Liz's dad, and he told a story once about when he came over to England and he got his job in that factory. You know, he had to basically walk up to the gate, and he was asking for his job, and he wouldn't basically leave until they gave him a job. Like, they didn't want to, because he was Irish. Like, and he fought for it, and he ended up being like the operations manager for the whole factory. Like,
right. Yeah.
But he faced that sort of difficulty at first, like not being able to get a job because he was Irish.
See, I don't know. I never got to ask my granddad about things like this, or I never got round to asking him things like this. But it didn't seem like he ever, or at least as far as I'm aware, never really had any trouble. Because he came over during the Second World War. I mean, he served with the army. But equally, he was Northern Irish rather than Southern Irish. Although only just. Enniskillen is right on the border. But I mean, Enniskillen was one of those towns where, like, they would hop of the IRA and won through that town. But I mean, his family all came over in the 40s. And I never got any stories like that off him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only story of it, the only example I've ever heard of it. But, you know, you saying where he was from Northern Ireland rather than sort of like South or Republic, like, but it's knowing English people as we know, would we have been bothered about the differentiation between which part of Ireland they came from? Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
We'd have gone, oh, cool, he sounds funny. We don't like him. You know,
he's got an accent. He's not one of us.
Yeah,
he's different, scary. Yeah.
Did he? Just out of interest, because I don't think I ever met your granddad. Did he retain his accent? You say he came over in the 40s, so he must have been quite young.
He'd have been in his 20s. I would have thought. No, probably teens or 20s, maybe.
Yeah.
But I never used to really hear it. He had a twang to me, but in the last few years, I've dug out an old recording of a TV show. It was This Is Your Life.
Yes,
we were
I remember that. Yeah.
And listening to that and not having heard his voice for quite a few years, it was kind of shocking to hear how thick his accent actually was.
But you didn't notice it when speaking to him, or maybe he put it. Maybe because he was on TV, did he put it on a bit stronger, like without like a subconscious thing, like a subconscious thing.
I wouldn't have thought so. I think he definitely. I just think he had an accent, and because he's family, and you'd speak to him so much, you just didn't know it was just his voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah, but it was weird after so many years of not hearing it. All of a sudden, it was like, wow, he's got a really strong accent. And it didn't compute. Yeah, so tough times trying to keep positive at the moment, But
But there is stuff going there, there's got to be good stuff. Please tell me there's some good stuff.
There will be some good stuff. Sorry, I've just been handed a
note. She's popping to Aldi. Awesome. Cool.
She is, yes.
I've just been handed a note. This just in. Joe is popping to Aldi.
Yeah. It's not, let's face it, but it's been such a weird year, like going through it almost month by month with a different disaster or a different thing happening. It's just, I think, a bit like 2016 was the year of celebrity deaths. 2020 is the year of just bizarre, weird, horrible shit happening all at once.
Next year is just going to be the monster of all hangovers, isn't it? Like
all there's going to be a party.
Well, I just mean all this weird stuff that's gone on. Next year, we're all going to be like, what the fuck was that all about? Like, what happened?
Yeah, it's going to be bizarre when there is a vaccine for this, and like it hopefully becomes just like a treatable illness.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that I don't go back to the kind of lifestyle that I had before.
Yeah.
In that, I'm not going out unnecessarily, spending money unnecessarily, that kind of thing. But I think the majority of people are just going to go and get absolutely leathered. And,
Yeah, well, I mean, like my first night out since lockdown, I went to the pub for like a colleague's birthday, and I was supposed to come back and join in the Zoom call. That didn't happen because my body's not used to alcohol. And I just got completely wrecked. I was in bed asleep by 11 o'clock after having thrown up. Like I was wrecked, mate. I was wrecked.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I never made it to the call, because I just, yeah, I did. But I got that out of my system, hopefully. So, but yeah,
one of the things that I haven't stopped doing, is drinking. I haven't done it, to excess.
But you've got to maintain your tolerance levels,
Yeah, it's important.
Somehow. You've got to make sure your body remembers how to process it properly.
Yeah. I just, it's one of those things, isn't it?
But it's something you enjoy. It's something you enjoy, and, you can do it in moderation.
Yeah, it's not, but it's also, it's not a means to an end or anything. It's just something I do enjoy doing.
And I think you are aware yourself. I know we spoke about it a few years ago now on the podcast. You are aware of how it can affect you. So that's always on the forefront of your mind, that's always there for you now. So, you know what can happen if you drink too much, or if you slip back into that sort of lifestyle. So
absolutely. Yeah.
And you're much happier now than you were back then.
Yeah. 100%. That's not to say that Joe and I sat down and watched the Blues Brothers last night.
No, you froze.
We bought a bottle of wine.
You froze just as you said Blues Brothers. You froze, and I was like, no.
Blues Brothers lost. We'd been we did a job for her parents the other day, and they bought us one of those kind of Marks and Spencer's meals for two with a bottle of wine and what have you. And I did manage to polish off an entire bottle of wine in the running time of Blues Brothers. But you know, these things happen.
But it's not a regular occurrence, which is the important thing.
No, precisely. No. Yeah.
But you got to when you're watching Blues Brothers. You've got
to. First time either of us have watched it the whole way through.
Really?
Believe it or not.
Oh wow. Okay, it's great.
Froze.
No, yeah. Well, yeah. You said it was the first time you both watched it through, and I was like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd seen bits of it, but I don't remember sitting through the whole thing. But unlike most films from around about that time where nostalgia plays a big part in it, because the music is such a big part of it, it still works, I think.
Yeah, it's a great film. Like there's some really odd things in it.
The whole...
It's very surreal.
There's a brilliant... Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's very surreal, like the Carrie Fisher character is just like, what? Like, I don't get that, but fine. It's fine.
Because you only get the bit right at the very end where it turns out that, like, Jake had stood her up at the altar, basically. But you don't get that until right at the very end. Like, you have no idea.
I'm letting this. It says just connection's unstable. I'm letting.
But I think
go.
I think somewhere in there is a brilliant 90-minute film.
Yeah.
But the running time is 2 hours and 15 minutes, and there's a lot of kind of stuff that could easily come out. That whole end scene with the police and the army and everything up the tower block doesn't necessarily need to be there.
But if you cut that out, you lose the hut, 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 hut.
That started to annoy me.
Oh, really? Yeah, I suppose you could cut a lot of that out, but initially that is hilarious, that part. Like, just the noise, the SWAT noises.
I think by the time that had started to happen, I was so fatigued by the car chase and the number of, like, extras and the number of cars crashing everywhere and stuff that I was just like, can we just get this over with now? I was,
maybe
it's a good film. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there has to be a fan edit out there. There has to be,
or maybe a not fan edit.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there's got to be. Someone must have done a cut of it where you sort of cut out a lot of the stuff. Or maybe that's a good exercise to do if you want to do a bit of practicing film editing. You know, see if you can cut down. I really want to do that now. I don't have the time, but I really want to do it. Anyway. But I think the problem with it is music plays such a big part in it, and it's throughout the film, that if you were doing cuts, you'd lose. Obviously, you'd have to cut the soundtrack. You'd have to cut the bed, so it might not work.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, you need to have access to the raw film files without the soundtrack to be able to do it properly. But that's a positive.
What did I watch? I'm watching The Last Dance at the minute, which is the Chicago Bulls Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Really good. Really interesting. That's really interesting. I watched the first episode of Watchmen as well, if we want to go back to the sort of Black Lives Matter movement. Really good. Really fucking good. Yeah. But I watched the first episode and I'm like, fuck, Liz is going to really like this. I need to now watch it with Liz. Cobra Kai's made its way onto Netflix as well, so I need to watch that.
Oh, right. That's the updated, that's the same characters in the TV show, right?
Cobra Kai. Yeah. So yeah, it's Daniel Russo and what's the character's name? His nemesis.
Oh fucking hell.
Anyway, I don't. The blonde guy from Cobra Kai. Yeah. Yeah. So it's those two, I believe. But yeah, I need to watch that. But I'm going to finish watching The Last Dance first, and then I'll probably move on to that. But yeah, Watchmen was really good.
The other thing that I've watched recently was Devs.
I don't know if I heard of that.
On the BBC. I don't know whether you know. It's something I think you might be interested in. It's only an 8-parter.
Yeah.
They're 45 minutes each, I think. But it's about this kind of it's about this Silicon Valley tech guy who's creating this R&D thing, which is like trying to algorithmically predict the universe.
Wow.
To
Small
make
task.
like a perfect simulation. There's yeah. It's by the guy who wrote and directed Ex Machina.
Okay. I probably will like that then.
Alex Garland.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got it's kind of a spy thriller,
Right.
like, but it's kind of got espionage bits in there, and also like, but it's just this kind of this kind of super sci-fi, like ridiculous concept of like this super rich tech giant guy has developed this quantum computer that can predict the past events and future events, and like it gets better and better to a point. And mainly it's driven by the fact that his daughter died and he wants to somehow understand the universe to change the past or something. But that's kind of the MacGuffin of the thing. Like that's his kind of drive.
Right.
But
yes.
the rest of the actual series is more about like what the hell, like the implications for it, and like whether, like the main thrust of it is whether predeterminism is a thing or whether you have free will. Like that's the main crux of it.
Yeah, I think Arrival did that really well as well. You know. Yeah. So interesting. I'll have to look that up. More for me to watch. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. And then Joe and I have started watching Shameless as well from the beginning.
The UK Shameless.
Yeah, the proper one.
The real one, yeah.
Just because I used to love it and she'd never seen it, and I was like, you've got to watch it because it's ridiculous and hilarious.
Is she enjoying it?
It stands up. Yeah, she is. I was surprised. I wasn't 100% sure whether she would.
Yeah, I've not watched it, so really I don't know much about it. I imagine I would like it. I imagine I probably would.
Scummy people on council estates trying to put one over on the man, and just all sorts of shenanigans.
But isn't that where fucking hell, why does his name escape me?
James McAvoy.
Yeah, Professor X. I was going to call him.
Yeah.
Young Professor X. Yeah, that's where he. Did he get his start, or that's sort of?
Yeah, that was one of the first things I remember seeing him in, and I think he leaves halfway through. I think, does he leave at the end of the first series or the beginning of the second series? And you can kind of see like the look of him, like the youth of him. That's where he went and played Mr. Tumnus in Narnia.
Yeah, that's a creepy
which is
character.
The big Hollywood thing that then project. Yeah, slightly. That whole film's a bit creepy though, like the child catcheriness of the Ice Queen.
Yeah,
and all that, you know.
Yeah. Last night, Liz was out last night, so I took that opportunity to watch a Disney documentary about Howard Ashman, who was the lyricist who used to work alongside. Oh God, what's his name? With the big composer, did Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. They did together. Really fucking, really, really good. You don't have Disney Plus, do you? So it's, you know, but it's so good, so good.
I will get it again at some point once some of these Marvel shows come out, and then I can finish watching The Mandalorian as well.
But it's just called
they
Howard.
took it away from me a day before they should have.
Yeah, oh, right. But yeah, the there's the documentary. It's just called Howard. It's really good. There's a Sherman Brothers one as well called The Boys, which I would like to watch.
Yes,
I've watched Frank and Ollie, which is the biggest animators there. Like these Disney documentaries about old school Disney is just so good. They do write really good documentaries, or make really good documentaries.
I've heard the one about the composers is supposed to be really good.
Was that The Boys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine, because they got turned into a film anyway, didn't it? Did they make a film about it?
Or they were involved in the Saving Mr. Banks.
Yes. Yeah. The Mary Poppins one, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, they are in that. They're portrayed in that, but yeah, they're just so good and wholesome, and it's just really good to see the actual story of how things happened. But it's got loads of, like the one I watched last night, it's got loads of really good footage of the recording sessions of Beauty and the Beast. So you've got like Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Potts, and what's his name, Jerry. He's really famous. He was the dad in Dirty Dancing. Do you not know Dirty Dancing? Jerry Orbach.
I'm afraid not. I don't think I've ever watched Dirty Dancing either.
You know Jerry Orbach?
Not by name even.
Okay,
I might know him.
Never mind. But there's some really good footage of those two in the recording session. It's really good. So good. You're looking him up to see if you recognise him from anything.
Yeah, I was trying to see him. I don't know. Jerry Orbach.
I literally know him from Dirty Dancing.
Right. Oh yeah, I do recognise him from something, but I couldn't put my finger on it exactly.
Yeah.
Sure, I've seen him in loads. He's got one of those faces that you just Yeah. But I think the takeaway is that, like, you know, there's so much horrible shit going on out in the world that the way forward is box sets and Disney Plus.
Yeah, escape into your TV.
Which I think a lot of people have been doing.
And I think what you really need to do is watch some wholesome content.
Yeah.
Like, don't go watching these horrors, or don't go watching like the dark documentaries and shit like that, because it'll just make you feel worse.
Yeah.
Escape
Blues
into
Brothers,
some
Disney Plus.
Blues Brothers, Disney Plus. Maybe not the one about the AI that you said about.
Yeah.
That could be quite scary.
Probably not.
if you're struggling. Also, I found some subreddits which are really good. They're really funny, but if you're struggling, don't go on them. There's three. There's one called Me in Real Life, which is like the relatable memes. And there's one that's a bit darker called To Me in Real Life, For Me in Real Life.
Okay.
Which goes dark, and it's more about gets more into like anxiety and depression memes. Relatable ones. And then there's one that's To Me in Real Life, For To Me in Real Life, For Me in Real Life, which goes a step further, and I don't know, it gets on about suicide. It gets really dark. But if you're in a good frame of mind, you can look at it and you laugh. Because it's relatable. But I know there's one that's someone sent me, and the meme is it's a tweet, and it just says that awkward moment between life and death, between birth and death. It's just like, yeah, that's funny.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so, and that's where we are right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, man. But yeah, I guess the other thing to do is just, ask anyone out there what they're watching, consuming to kind of get them through this,
There's so much out there. Do you remember the time when we used to talk about it and we said there's just not enough time to watch everything?
Yeah.
There is now.
Yeah, I do. There is now. There's no bloody excuse. And actually, I have got through a bunch of stuff that I otherwise wouldn't have during this time. The problem is that, stuff like Shameless, I've already watched most of it. I'm rewatching that for the benefit of Joe, I guess. But Yeah, there's 11 series of that. We're on season 3.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of time to put in. But Joe goes back to work on Tuesday. So
not going to be able to do it anymore.
No, it means that I'll be able to get through all the new stuff that I've been putting on the plan.
You get that really great time where it's like
got around to.
Yeah, I do love spending time with Liz and Chloe. But what I'm going to miss going into my new job is that time when you're at home on your own.
Yeah.
And you can just watch what you want to watch or do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Which sounds selfish, but you have to be selfish sometimes.
Of course you do. Yeah. Everyone needs a little bit of time to do what they want to do.
That's it. So
I am definitely going to go to the cinema to watch Tenet.
Yes, I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting some good write-ups
because I just can't not think about it at the moment. Like ever since we watched the trailer a couple of weeks ago, I've been like, when we were like, I don't know whether I'm going to go or whatever. But in the last couple of weeks, I haven't been able to not think about it. I've got to go.
You need to see it in the cinema, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not going to be the same on TV.
No, not at all. And people have been saying it is good. So I also noticed the other day Interstellar is on the Sky Cinema now at the minute. So
get that watched.
I'm going to be watching that at some point, but it's a long one.
It is, yeah. It's the best part of 3 hours, if not slightly more.
Yeah. It's one of those ones that I'll have to watch it on my own, maybe in 2 parts.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I'm on nights at the minute, so... but Liz is... so... Oh, excuse me.
As he says, I'm on nights.
yeah, just tired. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, I will get that watched at some point. I've got my sound bar as well, so I'm going to have to watch it during the day at some point.
It requires the sound bar. That score is
I love
immense.
the score. I've listened to it. I YouTube all the time, Hans Zimmer, Interstellar. Just listen to it. It's great.
And with the visuals, I remember, I'm sure I've talked about it on here before, when I came out of the cinema having seen it, I felt like completely insignificant in the grander scheme of things. Like the score is so kind of religious.
Yeah.
That it makes you feel, and the scope of the film is so huge that it does just make you feel so insignificant. And it's almost like I was quite emotional about it. I'd be interested to see what you feel.
What, knowing about my my existentialism.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel? Just
at least you're not going to be watching it in a dark room on a screen the size of the room. I think that might also have helped.
For sure, yeah. But I remember after reading Arrival in the what was the book of short stories called? I can't remember.
Oh God,
we both read it, didn't we?
Tales of Your Life or something.
Yeah, I remember after reading Arrival, that particular story, it was just that humbling sort of like. Despite the fact that it's completely fictional, but it had that humbling thing. You're like, oh, cool, yeah, no, nothing I do does matter, but not in a or you don't matter sort of thing. It's like, I'm okay with that actually. After reading Arrival, I've reversed on that again. Like I still had my existential crises, but for that brief period, I was like, okay, I'm content with what I've got.
Is there are ways that it can be explained or like the story can be put across in a way that isn't kind of, oh God, what's the point?
Yeah.
It's more like, there is a comforting way to kind of put that message across, and that story and that film certainly put that across, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas I think not that Interstellar doesn't.
Yeah.
But there was something about it that I was just like, fucking hell. Like, it's because the scope of the film is so massive. It makes you think of the universe and how tiny you are in comparison to it, and how there are things out there that we just will never understand.
And it is completely awesome in the sense, like, it does leave you in awe of it, which in fact that leads me to something that I would like to. Are we going to do after the podcast? I think.
Yes, I think we should.
Yes. So the fact that awesome contains the word awe is something that I read about this morning that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Kind of leads to what I wanted to talk about. So
yeah,
with that little nugget of tease, let's go and do that.
Okay. Well, again, like I say, let us know what you're watching to get you through these times of incredible darkness. We all need a lift, so as much sharing as possible is a good thing, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, and then we'll have a chat through them next time if there's enough people who get in touch.
And by enough, we mean one.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. So yeah, until next time, I've been Tom.
And I've been Ant.
Stay safe.
Bye.